And of course, the September the 11th attacks. To this day, some people question the official story. Tonight, we begin with conspiracy theories and this. This is new video of the September 11th attacks. One thing right there. U.S. Defense Department officially released it yesterday. It shows an American Airlines jet. At the moment, it crashed into the Pentagon. That attack killed 189 people, including 5 hijackers. The video was recorded by 2 security cameras, and it was made public after a government watchdog group made the request under the Freedom of Information Act. Now, let's take a look again at the right side of the screen. Look real close. That white object, low to the ground. Well, and there it is. It hits the Pentagon. Now, since 9/11, there have been a whole bunch of conspiracy theories kicking around about the Pentagon, and that's saying that a plane didn't hit it at all. That, in fact, it was a cruise missile that hit it, and part of the reasoning in the releasing of this video was to quash all that, except, you've been sitting around the water cooler. We like water cooler at work. We all watched the tape, and it wasn't clear. It wasn't that clear at all. But again, it is a conspiracy theory. So for the people who buy into that sort of thing, the video just raises more questions. So if you want to talk conspiracy and you want to talk about September the 11th, well, the one guy you go to is Dylan Avery. Dylan made a documentary called Loose Change, and it just suggests that the U.S. government covered up what really went down on 9/11, and he's with us right now. How are you, man?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so no problem. You saw the footage. What do you make of it?
Man, I think it's bogus. I mean, the fact that Fox News got straight onto TV and they were like, oh, we've got these 2 new tapes which are going to dispel the conspiracy theories. They spend an hour and a half building it up, making it seem like it's this brand new footage. And I mean, they show one tape which has already been shown in March 2002. They showed about maybe, first in March 2002 they showed like 5 frames, and then now they're showing, the complete version of that video. The second unreleased, never before seen video was a video from that surveillance booth. So basically you had 2 different camera angles from the same position, and they both don't show a 757. I mean, you can zoom in as much as you want. You see a small white blob. That's it.
Now, I understand why a lot of people have a lot of questions, and they raise those questions, and you're saying a plane didn't hit the Pentagon, but there are 59 families who are missing loved ones. What do you suggest happened to them? What happened to those people that were on this plane?
I mean, hey man, I can't sit here and lie about the family members and say that, either that the passengers were in on it or that their family members are government agents. I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, these people who lost their loved ones, their loved ones are obviously dead. They're obviously gone. I mean, I'm not saying that they're on a payroll somewhere. I mean, I'm just trying to ask questions. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of covering something up. Well, I mean, I'm obviously accusing the government of covering something up, but I'm not trying to implicate the passengers because, I mean, they're just as innocent as, anybody else, man.
But for the loved ones to be dead, and I ask, I mean, why would the government kill its own people? Like, why would they do that? Why they didn't need the Pentagon?
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, they kind of did need the Pentagon. I mean, granted, the Twin Towers being hit and the World Trade Center falling to the ground, I mean, that in itself was traumatic, but I mean, the second the Pentagon was hit, I mean, that was clear that it was, A, a terrorist attack, and B, a military attack, and it had serious significance to it. I mean, 9/11 wouldn't have been nearly as powerful if the Pentagon wasn't hit.
And you understand, and I'm sure you've faced it lots, and there are people watching right now who see you, they hear you talking, and they think you're crazy. So what is the strongest evidence you have? Like, what is the strongest piece of evidence that backs up your claim?
Man, the strongest piece of evidence I would probably have to say would be the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7. And the fact that I just said that, and there were probably a bunch of people out there that went, huh, Building 7? I mean, I myself didn't know about it. World Trade Center Building 7, this was a 47-story office building 300 feet away from the North Tower. At 5:20 p.m. on September 11th, this building fell straight down into its own footprint in 6 seconds, which, if you do the math, is basically an absolute free fall. I mean, this building wasn't hit by a plane, wasn't hit by a substantial amount of debris, and yet at 5:20 p.m. it falls straight down into its own footprint. You watch the video. I mean, there's 5 or 6 videos available. I mean, this was a controlled demolition. I mean, there's no way of avoiding it. The simple fact is, how could Al-Qaeda or anybody else have rigged Building 7 for, a controlled demolition, which is a process that takes months, if not, well, definitely months of planning.
Now, Loose Change started out, or this idea started out as a fictional piece of work for you, which turned into a doc. So I got to ask you, how much of the fictional part actually made it into the doc? Because as an artist, that over time, it's hard to make those clear lines.
Yeah, man. I didn't want to believe this evidence. I mean, it was supposed to be fictional. This wasn't supposed to be true. The government wasn't supposed to be responsible for the murder of 3,000 people. But, I mean, you do the research and you start to look into 9/11 and you just look into the events. I mean, there's timelines which break September 11th down to the minute. And I mean, you realize so many different people on so many different levels dropped the ball. I mean, it's uncanny for anybody to walk away from this and still say, yeah, our government's innocent. You know, they had no idea.
Well, you could make the argument very clearly that they were unprepared because they never thought this kind of thing would ever happen, and when it's this significant, they would drop the ball.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, on the morning of September 11th, they were holding up to 15 war games, which basically simulated exactly what happened on September 11th. I mean, they were simulating hijacked jetliners crashing into the Pentagon and the World Trade Center. They were drilling that 15 different versions that morning. And again, they've had drills before that. They had drills in 1999. They had drills in October 2000, which drilled a 757 hitting into the Pentagon. I mean, the government definitely knew these attacks were coming at the very least.
Well, you know, man, it's certainly a conversation that people love to have, and appreciate your time, man. Dylan, have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, there you go. Now, if you're sitting there and you are saying World Trade Center Building 7, what happened? Some reports initially said that it was small fires that actually brought the building down, but there are a lot of people who don't think fires would have been a good enough excuse. Some say controlled demolition. If you Google it, you'll find all kinds of information. That guy there, Dylan, who we just had on in Loose Change, is a documentary a lot of you have emailed us about, a lot of people interested in that. And I know there are some of you who totally buy it, and there are a lot of you out there, maybe even not as many, who don't buy it at all. What do you think, though? We'd love to hear from you. Here's how you can reach us, and it's pretty simple, my friends. Send us an email to thehour@cbc.ca, thehour@cbc.ca, or check out our website, which is cbc.ca/thehour, and we're going to be updating it this summer. We're actually making a lot of changes to it as well real soon, so stay tuned, as it'll have a whole new look, cbc.ca/thehour. Okay, let's go.